Hello, this is Mitch Cummings, the principal at Big Rapids Middle School. A little over a month ago, I sat at a parent-teacher organization meeting sharing details of the upcoming state test, the M-STEP, with a group of parents. After discussion about that topic, one of the parents said, "I wish you could share all of that information with all of our parents." And the difficulty of sending letters and notes and having people read them is that that's not as time efficient. So the idea for Fireside Chats was born, and here I am sharing with you some of that information in this first episode, I think most fitting, the M-STEP test. Now later this week, our 8th grade and 5th grade students will begin the M-STEP test. Our 6th and 7th grade students will take the M-STEP test starting in early May. But I do think it's important to share with you some of the details surrounding the M-STEP, partly because it's an important part of our school year, and also there is sometimes a negative stigma attached to the topic of state testing. So to share with you, we're very familiar with the old MEEP test, the state mandated test that we took when we were kids. We sat in a large gymnasium, we bubbled in sheets, we had our test pamphlets. It's important that parents understand that testing today is proctored in a very different way. For instance, the setting, we break our kids into smaller groups and we take it in a different setting. In our building, we take that in our Cardinal Hall, which is set up specifically for testing to create the most comfortable environment for kids to do their very best. One other difference is, as I stated, there are no more bubble filling stations where your pencil seems to dull painfully somewhere between the start and the end of the test. So our kids will actually take this test online using Chromebook computers. There's one more key element. When we took the test years ago, we had a time constraint. We needed to complete our test in a given amount of time, and we can all remember that feeling when the teacher on the giant whiteboard wrote 10 more minutes to complete your test, and looking ahead, we certainly knew that there wasn't enough time for us to get through every question. Kids today, the test that they take today is different in that there is no time limit. Kids can take as long as they need to do as good as they possibly can. So we're sharing with our kids 3 important pieces of information, 3 guidelines to success on the M-STEP. The very first one is that we want our students to take your time. Because the test is not restricted to a certain amount of time, we're encouraging kids to do their very best. In 1970, Ruby Payne did research that indicated that students that take their time on assessments and apply grit to those assessments do 70% better than their proficiency level peers. So that's one thing that we're emphasizing with our kids, and research continue to suggest that that is an accurate thing. The second one that we're telling our kids is do your best. Because the test is given a different structure, they have more resources to demonstrate proficiency to the best of their ability. And so if you'll see a link at the end of this that will take you so you can see what the test looks like for kids, and then we'll outline all of the resources that they have right there built into the computer test. Finally, we're emphasizing to our kids that this matters. Now, we do test our kids 3 times each year with a test called NWEA. The M-STEP is different from the NWEA in a couple of ways. The NWEA test measures student against that same student. It's a growth assessment. Our kids take the test in the early part of the year, the middle part of the year, and at the end of the year. What that allows us to see is that student's growth and those skills over that year. And then we track that because we continue to take that test each year. The M-STEP test is a one-time test. It is based on the Michigan standards. What the M-STEP data allows us to do is for teachers and building leaders and district leaders to take a look at that data and identify, are there holes in our instruction or curriculum that we need to resolve? Are we meeting all of the standards? So this data is incredibly important for us as we continue to plan and advance the curriculum at Big Rapids Public Schools. So at the end of this clip, you will see some links. You'll see a link to the M-STEP schedule, so you'll know exactly the days and times that your kids will be testing. I'll also have a video link to some of the tools and resources to the M-STEP, so you'll see what your kids are seeing as they take the test. What we want from you is to give us some help. We want you to emphasize to your kids that this is an important test. We want you just to do your very best. What can you do at home? You can make sure your child has a good meal before they come to school, or emphasize that they should eat breakfast here at school. We provide snacks prior to the test so that our kids are in the right frame of mind, the best possible frame of mind, that they can do their very best. Now, one more final note, the M-STEP test, we are in our 4th year of any degree of the M-STEP test. Our Superintendent of States, Brian Whiston, has expressed that there are some changes coming down the pipeline. We've been excited about some of the changes from the past to this year, particularly that estimated amount of time it takes to complete the test is reduced compared to previous years, drastically reduced this year compared to even last year. So we're excited about that, so that negative stigma of testing taking so much time or testing season being a thing, that has reduced quite a bit coming into this year. But still, there are some changes. The state of Michigan is and does seem to be committed to not allowing the M-STEP test or the state test, whatever it may be called in the future, to be such an inconvenience to schedules, that it won't disrupt the teaching of our core content over the course of the year, and it won't be such a disruption to the daily routine. Again, we're doing our best to minimize that for our kids, to create the most comfortable testing environment that we can so that our kids can do their very best, and we can use that data to do our very best. So thank you very much for episode 1, Fireside Chats with Mr. Cummings. Have a great day.